Let's take a look at panelizing PCBs in KiCad 6. There's a couple of good reasons to panelize cards. One of them is you might want to save costs on small cards by combining them together onto one panel. The second reason is that you want to do infrared reflow of your card, and if you combine the cards together you can do less operations in the reflow. You can have a stencil that stencils up multiple cards and it just reduces the production flow. It's an easier step. There's a magic number to remember with these cards, and that's 100 by 100 millimeter cards. That's where the price breaks for cards from JLC PCB and PCBWay and the other companies. It seems to be their preferred number. When you get above that size, it gets more expensive. It still may be worthwhile, but it's still more expensive. Let's take a look at a 49 by 49 millimeter example. The card on the left is 49 by 49 millimeters, and the four cards on the right are a panelized version of that card, and the panel is 100 by 100 millimeters with 2 millimeter spacing between the two cards. If you order quantity 10 of the card on the left, it costs $5. If you order quantity 10 of the four cards on the right, it costs $12.30. It's not 4 times the cost. It's not even 3 times the cost. It's about 2.5 times the cost. So you can see the cost savings that you get when you order cards together panelized. All of this obviously starts inside of KiCad, and inside of KiCad under the PCB editor. And note we're running KiCad 6, so if there's a newer version out, the instructions may change. If you're running an older version of KiCad, you might want to upgrade. I think it's worth it. The first thing you really have to do when you're done with designing your card is you really need to run the design rule checker and look at any of the outputs. It's really important to check it. Now this board has 0 errors. It does have warnings. Let's go ahead and run it and see what the warnings say. Well, it says there's warnings. There's no unconnected. There's schematic purity ones. So there's nets with different names. That would probably be something worth checking to make sure it's all correct. In this case, I've renamed the test pad from test 1 to test, so it's not that. And that would be the same for the last 2 errors. The other errors are because I changed the names over here and didn't update the schematic. So getting all that straight first is kind of important. None of these matter though for the PCB side and the example we're going to use here. Once you do that, you want to do the normal thing you would do, which is to plot it. And if you get one of those little errors in here, you have to fix something. The error might say something about clearances and such, and if you have that issue, the way to clear that issue is to go to edit predefined sizes. Takes a little while to pop up. Select solder mask and paste, and this number right here, solder mask clearance, has to be 0 for it to work properly with the tool, otherwise you get too much spacing around. Select solder mask and paste, and this number right here, solder mask clearance, has to be 0 for it to work properly with the tool, otherwise you get too much spacing around. It's best before you run the Gerber creator to clear off all your old plot files. That just makes it a lot cleaner, just in case, because part of this process involves renaming one of the files, and leaving the file with the old name is going to be a collision later on, so we'll get rid of all those. So first thing to do here is to place the drill and file origin in the corner of the board. Sometimes KiCad doesn't show it as being done. I don't quite know why. I haven't had it make a difference on this card, but hey, it's what it is. Now let's go ahead and plot. Plotting options are, I don't want to plot the values. I do want to plot the reference designators. I want all the rest of these unchecked. Got to make sure I use Protel file name extensions for the tool we're going to use. I always shut off the Gerber job file. Want to use the drill and file place origin, and that's really all we have to do. If we hit plot, it'll shove it in my plots file. For the drill file size, what do we want to do? Let's take a look. I combine the plated through and non-plated through holes into one single file, otherwise it's two files. It's just a little bit easier to have it be one. Postscript, drill and file place origin is what I want. I do it in inches. I don't know that you have to. And that's pretty much it. So let's generate the drill file. And go ahead and close out and exit the program. Let's go into Gerber Viewer and take a look at what the file looks like, just to make sure it's clean in there. It's not a perfect check, but it's pretty decent. Here's all the files that we just created. Let's add in the drill file. And let's start shutting off layers. We don't want the mask, we don't want the legend, we don't want the front layer. We do want to leave the profile on. We don't want the solder mask, we don't want the legends, and we don't want the other copper layer. So there's our outline of our card. It looks good. It's got the drill holes. Let's add in one layer at a time. Solder mask looks correct. Legends of the back of the card look correct. That's the copper on the back of the card. It looks good. There's no choked off spots. Looking at the solder mask on the front, it looks the same as the back. Front silkscreen looks pretty good. There's a couple of collisions. There's a collision of the silkscreen with the via. It won't be anything serious for what I want to do. And shut that layer off, and let's look at the front copper layer. It also looks good and clean. Before we panelize the card, we need to rename the edge cuts file from .gm1 to .gko. Not 0, but O. Yeah, I don't care. That's okay. So we've got a good card, passed all DRCs. Passed, looks good in the Gerber viewer. It's probably safe to use it. Now let's go ahead and run the Panelizer program. I'll throw a note in the show notes, a link to the file. It's by This Is Not Rocket Science. It's got a little bit about help and workflow. Pulls up a web page for it. Should be kind of helpful. Not a lot of stuff in here, but hey, it works okay. First thing to do is to do File, New. That creates a 100 by 100 millimeter workspace for us to work in. Then do board placement, and you have to add the Gerber file. And this is part of where it gets really clunky because it's not a great file browser. So I go through libraries because that's where I keep all my documents. Things are up in GitHub under my boards. This one is an I2C card. It's an I2C IO8. And the plots are here in that folder. So you select that folder. And it looked like nothing happened, but the card actually came in. And if you do board placement, auto place naive, it'll show it. It's 49 by 49 millimeter card in the bottom corner. I want 3 more copies of that card, so I go up to here under plots, board Gerber plots, highlight the instance of the first one they've created, right click on it, and then do add instance, and that'll make another one. I'll just throw it over here for fun. Doesn't have to be precisely placed. We'll use the placer to do it. Let's put down 2 more, add an instance, throw it over here, and then we'll add another instance. So that gave us 4 cards, and they're all placed. I believe if we do auto place naive, it'll pack them, and that made them all nice and clean to the 4 corners. Put in the proper 2 mil spacing between the cards that we need. Next thing to do is add break tabs, and again, this gets a little bit clunky, so you have to insert these manually. Insert break tab, and notice it didn't pop up on the screen anywhere here. Used to it stopped doing that, so the problem is it's off screen. So I type in a 10 to place it, and that'll just throw it up here on the screen. And we'll take it and we'll put it right here. So you notice these turn from red to sort of orange, which says that they're not quite there yet. Let's throw another brake tab in. Same problem. We got to change this to 1010 and then move it to where we want it. And we'll place it right here. So now they're sort of a greenish color, which means these two cards are connected, but these two aren't connected. Do the same thing. Brake tab, insert brake tab. It's off screen again. I don't know why that broke. It used to put it in the upper left corner and then it just stopped doing that, but this workaround works. We'll throw one here. It's getting a little bit better. Brake tab, insert brake tabs. 1010. It was quite a bit of hassle to figure that out. It's kind of obvious now that that's what I had to do, but that 1010 solved that. So these two are both connected to each other, but the four aren't connected together. So we'll put in a couple more brake tabs. Let's throw in one here. Move this one to 1010. And we'll move that and put it up here between these two cards. Things got better. So these two cards are completely connected. You can see how they're green. So if we throw in another brake tab, fix the location again. Yours might work better. I wish it just put it in the middle of the screen. It would be a lot easier, but it's program. Hey, can't complain. It's a free program. So it looks good. They're all connected. You got a nice little curvature here. If there was an error, like if things were too close, it would put a little error over here to the side. I've had to tweak cards to get them to be exactly the 49 by 49 millimeters, because if you have something that's just slightly bigger, then it'll complain and say that it doesn't meet the radius, the 2 millimeter spacing it needs between the cards. So at this point we've got something that passes all the checks. We've got a completed layout. It's exactly what we want. So if we do a file, we'll do a save as. It's a little bit less clunky. Not sure why there's a different browser in here for the different sorts of things, but let me save that off in a folder. I'm going to put that in the same folder, but a sub that we have the plots, but a subfolder below that we keep that sort of thing in. It's plots, and then I keep it in the folder called panel. We'll name it 8.4 panel and save it. And at this point we're ready to export the Gerbers. So we'll do export merged Gerbers. Again, it's this clunky browser that you gotta go search through. I wish it just remembered where I was last. Life would be a lot easier. Again, I can't complain about a free program that saves me money, but it could be a little bit better. Again, I hate to complain about work that somebody else has done. I think it's a nice program. It works. Plots, and we want to put it inside the panel folder. So that's the place that we just created to do it. Click OK, and you can see it cranking away up here. I wish it was a little bit easier to see. It's small fonts, but basically it's skipping stuff it needs to skip, and it's making stuff it needs to make. And up on the screen pops JPEG file or PNG file of the back of the card, and that looks good, and the front of the card, and that looks good too. So at this point we can go ahead and exit out of the Panelizer program, and we'll go ahead and run the Gerber viewer and look at the combined file to see how it looks. Go ahead and open that. It's inside of the plots panel, and we want to grab everything. We don't want to grab that file, but we want to grab everything else. Open it, and it pops the card up. Let's add the drill file again like we did before, and let's start shutting off layers. Now it named them combine.gbl, which is fine. It's fine. It would be nice to be able to put a name on it, but hey, it works. Again, can't complain about a free program. Leave the outline on, leave the drill on, and that looks like our card with some interesting little weird spikes on here. Don't know what they mean and don't think they matter. At least they didn't matter when I ordered this card. Let's turn on the layers one at a time. Front copper looks good. The cards are all isolated. They've got the little slots here for breaking the, or little tabs for breaking the cards apart. Looks good. It's got the things in the back of the card that are there. It's got the correct solder mask on the back. It's got the correct top layer. Looks good. And we'll have to break this card. We can break it by snapping this way and then snapping that way. It should be fairly simple to break. Let's see. So that solder mask looked good. And basically it all looks good at this point. I think it's ready to order. Let's take a look at what it takes to order it on JLC PCB. They're not a sponsor, but they're the company that I've used, so we'll take a look at doing it on there. Before we order the cards, we have to combine the layers together in the panel into one zip file. So I want to be careful here. I want all of these files, but I don't want the text file. So all the GB files and the GKO file. In Windows, I click send to compress folder, and let's rename it I to C IO8 4X, and that'll work. And let's remember that for when we go over to order it on JLC PCB. Again, not a sponsor. Let's use JLC PCB, and I'm going to upload a similar file to the one I did before. It's another 49 by 49 millimeter card. If I click order now, I've already logged in with my Google login, which is one of the nice things I like about their site. Let's order a card that I ordered earlier today because it worked well. Let's find the card and plots and panel and the combined panel. It can take a little while to load these files that are on panels. For some reason it seems to take a little bit longer, and occasionally the preview doesn't work. Haven't had trouble with the actual cards if they passed all my DRCs. There's a couple of things we have to do inside of here that are really important. Otherwise you get emails from that might go to your junk mail folder, like mine have, from JLC PCB customer service, and those emails tell you that you need to pay more for a panelized card. It's a little bit odd that you have to pay more for a panelized card, but hey, it's their business and that's how they do it. Prices are very reasonable. This does take a little while to run. We'll talk a little bit about what we're going to click here in a second here, assuming it all finishes up properly and we get to see a nice Gerber file. We're going to want to click, the most important thing is the panel by customer button here, and when you click that, it's going to ask you for how many there are in a panel, and I typed the 2x2 because that's what this panel is. And I can't seem to get this message down here to go away. It does not seem to affect anything, but let's see if it finishes up. I make quantities 10 personally, that's what I like to do. And this particular card, I think I'll make it black. Doing all this while it's waiting for the card. Let's see if it ever finishes. Alright, it finished uploading after a while, and it isn't showing a preview here, so I'm not quite sure what's going on. I think it did earlier. Let's go over to the file manager and take a look at that card. It does show it in the preview there, so it looks like it's good. We click it, we can see it looks good. It's got 4 cards. Shows as solid green between the two, but it doesn't come that way when you get it. You've seen it in the pictures of the card, or the picture of the card that I showed earlier. So that's pretty much it. As I said, you want to click panel by customer. Need to make it a 2x2. This card I'm going to make it black, and I want to order 10 of them. And back comes the price, $12.30 for 4 cards, which is better than $20 for 40 cards. 40 cards for $12.30 versus 10 cards for $5. Excuse me. Save it and then go ahead and order it, and they have a convenient PayPal option here on JLC PCB. Again, not a sponsor. I've gotten emails from them and others to become a sponsor, but haven't taken that step. Might do that someday. But anyway, hope this works. If you have any issues, post them in the comments, and anybody who knows more than I know about this and can tell me what I did that was dumb, I appreciate that too. Thanks for watching. If you want more information, you can see our wiki pages for these products, and we have YouTube videos on them as well. We have a store in Tindy where we sell all of our cards. Thanks for watching our video, and if you enjoyed it, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.